Good afternoon, everybody. RT here, episode 59 of Hero Labs Live, and Bitcoin just broke the all-time highs. Or did it? Got some mixed reports that perhaps the spot markets didn't quite break it. And to share in this analysis and to share his own views on this, we got TraderSmokey in the studio today. How you doing, Smokey? Yep. That's right. Yeah, no, I'm just pulling up, just trying to make sure I get the stream up here on my chart. So bear with me here. Let's check the chat um, as we get started. Okay, that's what I needed to separate. Um, technical, well, I wouldn't say difficulties, but oh my God. Okay, so there is a new operating system for Mac came out on the weekend, Big Sur, and it's a joke. Doesn't work quite right. So give me a sec, guys, as I organize this tab. All right, we got Hey, greetings, reporting from interstellar space. Good to see you, living on the moon. Nathan says we can't hear Smokey. Do we have that audio plugged in? Johnny. You have to activate your audio. We got 14 here viewing on YouTube. Good to see you guys. We're going to get to the charts today. It's going to be a very chart heavy day, as you can imagine, given the Bitcoin push. Just resting down on the hourly EMA that I've got here. So we'll see if it gets that launch that everyone is holding their breath for here. And we'll see if there's a way to trade it. I mean, Nick and I were on last week, a little unsure of what we wanted to do with altcoins. We were hunting bottom buys in the 16Ks as far as just waiting for that squeeze up. I know we both caught part of that move. Personally, I did cut some of my longs along the way. So there you go. But tons of spot exposure with various coins and whatnot. And yeah, just kind of enjoying the ride. I mean, I think bottom line is this is going to be a newsmaker. And so we're going to see some fireworks, I imagine, one way or the other, with the world suddenly watching, if they weren't already, given the big run up in the sort of positive news cycle that's been spinning up over the last few months. So to have it break all-time highs, again, not on every exchange, but on some, and I was watching it live on the 1 minute with Binance, it literally just boop, and then it just got smacked down. And I guess you could expect that. A lot of people are going to be sitting there looking to take profits and close longs and maybe smash a short. So
Maybe
either way, yeah, maybe. Let's double check if we can get that audio up for Smokey. Yeah, Nathan says, I'm scared. BTC looks like a top. Yeah, audio's up. Okay, let's try that. Test it out there, Smokey.
All right, can you hear me?
Give them 20 seconds to see if they can hear you. I'm sure they can. Producer has reported audio spikes. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be funny. We brought you in here in spirit. Yeah, working now. Okay, good. So how are you doing today, Smokey?
I'm doing fine. A little bit tired, but I mean, the daily on Bitcoin is shaping to be quite interesting. Like, we still have little under 5 hours left. Could be printing a top. There are signals for it, but like some exchanges broke all-time high. It's probably gonna make the news, and like just the bid has been insane on Bitcoin. Like, I don't remember any period in the last 3 years where it got bought this insanely. Every dip got bought up. Once it's trending again, like there's barely any real dips. It's just insane. So yeah, I think it's an exciting time to be in crypto right now.
Yeah, and I think, for myself as more of an altcoin trader historically, trading Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, trading against Bitcoin, but generally speaking, I get excited when it's like, let's talk about 100x's, 50x's, and that kind of stuff I find historically comes in altcoins. So I guess my question is, how will this all-time high, how will this new spur of bullishness find its way into the altcoin space, and will it? Will Bitcoin be a new paradigm where institutions are the ones bidding it up, and so it's hard to grab that, for alts to follow? That's possible. I think it's less likely. Or is all this bullishness going to inevitably draw in more retail participants, and they tend to gravitate towards new cheap coins? What are your thoughts on that? Do you trade a lot of altcoins?
I do trade some altcoins, yeah, for sure. Like Ethereum is also one of my biggest holdings. Like, not one of my biggest holdings, it's my biggest holding besides Bitcoin, at all times, basically. And I have to say the BTC pair looks pretty strong, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if you can see my screen right now,
you're up.
but so you can see like this weekly doji here who marked a strong uptrend support, and then it broke down, like it resisted here. We basically printed like an S-curve around this level, and we retested it to perfection basically and bounced. The major trend line that was like holding us down right here has been broken again. Demand has been tested, and we saw a positive response. Like, Ethereum is moving like a bullish coin, in my opinion. You can see the 200-day EMA, it acted as resistance but got flipped. Like, I think there are many signs that point towards Ether performing against Bitcoin, possibly, like, except this huge bearish candle, but it's not too bad yet. And if Ether can perform, more often than not, altcoins will too.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one we've been watching closely over the last little while. Basically like the weekly trend, like you've got up there, well, the daily there. But, ETH BTC just looks so ready to go. Like, look at that, right? And resting on that launch pad, as you said, bouncing off demand just the other day. So, if Bitcoin's about to go into a rip face bull and ETH is looking like it may outperform, that's really exciting. And I got to admit, I have a larger position in Ethereum than I do in Bitcoin. That's for sure.
I mean,
and I'm bullish on both. I don't think, I don't think you have to, I don't think you have to take sides as much. I think crypto generally will rise and fall together, but within that, ETH BTC pair often, like you say, is the weather map for what the other coins are doing. It's sort of like, here's Bitcoin, what's the rest doing? And you can look at this chart to get a feel for it, and it just looks like it's sitting on a launch pad.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even like I just took off all my lines. I'm just trying the weekly Ichimoku chart. And as you can see, like, we have a bullish future cloud. The Chiku span just broke out. We retested support like perfectly 3 times, but closed above the first initial swing low. So the only thing that's missing here is like a bullish TK recross. And I think we'll get it, and it will be insane. Like, levels like 0.07 are not unimaginable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that is in strong Bitcoin. Yeah, well, and that's the sick thing, right? Is that might be through the lens of a Bitcoin bull market. So if you've got Ethereum gaining on Bitcoin like that while Bitcoin is pushing highs, that's a recipe for a moon landing.
I mean, look what I have here. It's the Binance chart, so there's not the whole history, but you see this whole uptrend here, and you see the timing here. This was in December 2017, like at the height of the Bitcoin bull market, and from the low of 0.023, like that's roughly
December 7th, if I'm not mistaken. December 7th. I remember that day. It was the capitulation move.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it pumped to 0.12. During peak Bitcoin mania, altcoins suddenly started absolutely mooning. Like, the headlines about Bitcoin certainly brought a lot of money from retail that were chasing the next big thing. And the next big thing is, and probably will always be, Ethereum. That's the first step where retail goes after Bitcoin.
That's the gateway drug.
Yeah, and then there comes the shit coins, and some poor souls might get stuck at XRP, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think altcoins will do very well if Bitcoin keeps up being bullish, and during consolidation phases or small downtrends without too many harsh moves, altcoins can really shine.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And actually, I want to pull up. I'm going to pull up a chart that just shows like the altcoin market cap. And let me see if I get it on my screen here. And just to give us a little perspective, I better flip over to my screen share here. This is one I was looking at last week. And it's exciting to think about because, I think the big question everyone wants to have is like, will this outperform Bitcoin? And that's what we use the Bitcoin dominance chart for. That's what we look at E3PC for. But for a lot of people, like you say, they're coming in, they're seeing all-time highs, they want to catch the next big thing, they want to be long on something. They're typically thinking in terms of USD. And you can see here the last time that Bitcoin broke its all-time high was February 7th, 2017, I believe. And fairly shortly after, I mean, Bitcoin obviously went on a big tear, but this is all of the value in crypto, excluding Bitcoin. So without Bitcoin, all the altcoins and all that stuff, Ethereum went on its big run this year, XRP went crazy, a whole bunch of names, really everything by the end of the year in this last push. And so I guess the question is, if Bitcoin just broke the all-time highs today, or at least on half the exchanges, I watched Binance did it, Bitstamp did it. I think CME didn't quite, because the CME futures actually opened like insanely high back in 2017. So, there's a few that have, few that haven't, but the bottom line is, we're parked right there. If that happens, what would you expect over the next few weeks? Looking at this, obviously it's like a sample size of one, but I think, some of those Bitcoin maximalists, as I'll call them, when it's at the highs, when it's going crazy, when dominance is rallying, altcoins are getting wrecked, they like to say, it's going to be a one coin party. But I think this chart can speak to perhaps a broader bull market that we're all hoping for.
I mean, the sample size is fairly low. Like when we check, for example, when altcoins collectively broke the last all-time high, they rallied from a total value of 180 million to, wait, that can't be right, 450 billion. What? That high?
Yeah, right. That's what it says here. I mean, 171 million, and it peaked at 467 billion. But that, that's Jesus June 2016. Christ. Yeah, that's June 2016. But that's
yeah, but that's basically the time frame we're in right now. That's the time frame we're in right now. Like after the Bitcoin halving, after the first move up from Bitcoin. Like, I don't know if many viewers were around back then, but like early 2017, or like let's say second quarter 2017, like coins like PIVX, Monetary Unit, like all these little newer altcoins popped off, and they did insane numbers in insanely little time. Like when you check the charts right now, you wouldn't believe it. Those were pumps that people haven't seen even on Uniswap.
Yeah,
it was just insane. Like if something like that ever happens again, I don't know, like it's just filthy. And one can only hope, right?
That's the thing. And actually part of my strategy, as much as I like to trade on futures and I like to hunt for altcoins, and my bread and butter, and it really has been since ICOs of 2017. So I was really excited to see DeFi come into flavor this year and all those pre-sales. But, my investment group, trader group, and myself, we really just focus on those new projects and the pre-sales, and getting in at a certain level. As a trader, I'm often remiss to de-risk my account fairly early on. If they launch at 5, 6, 10x, I'll just take my initial back and then look for new seeds to plant. And then I'm sitting on, a handful of these bags that, like you say, if they're at 500K up to 2 million market cap, and we get into this kind of, season, I'd say, interestingly, my bigger fear than like, is this going to be a bull market? Are we going to make money? Because I keep de-risking early on with these newer projects, my bigger fear is that I'm going to sell too early. Like all those stories you hear about guys buying a house in the first 2 months of a bull market and then watching that like million house, the Bitcoin they spent on it, and suddenly it's like a $75 million house. They're like, oh. So
I don't think you will have to face that issue because, like, with your strategy, you can have fairly strong hands because, like, when a project opens at 5 or 6x the valuation and you take out the initial, you already have de-risked. So if you truly believe in this project you invested in, you have less stress, less concern about going down with the ship since you de-risk already. So you have the potential to have very strong hands.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, my fear is that I wouldn't, or that they go, 50x, and then I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, and then for no real good reason, just take profit because it's up so much, even though you might be 4 months into what is expected to be a much larger bull market. So I actually am strategizing now to like really lock down those hands because, like you said, if it's a risk-free trade at this point, I think we will see signs. I mean, I've been through one cycle myself. I think you've been through perhaps more than one. We're going to get into a bit of your background soon. But one of the bigger mistakes a lot of people make, they're just like, oh, put in 1,000. Hey, look, it's worth 10,000. I'm going to take it out. That's not a mistake. I mean, that's, you made good money, take it out, whatever. But as a trader who looks at charts all day, tops tend to be pretty, not easy to see in the moment, but like you get a sense of 2017 at those highs. I mean, I felt it. I think a lot of people felt it. It was absolute euphoria. Too good to be true. We're never going back down again. I mean, I feel like I'll be able to spot that in the market, and it might be a year away. It might be more. And then exactly. And then as Nathan says, well, he's look for the dead cat bounce. I mean, one of the things is if you really want to catch the larger trend, you have to be willing to hold through some pretty big drawdowns. 30%.
True.
Right. Whatever.
Except if you're very, very confident in your ability to buy back. But if you sell and you want to buy back, you need to be on top of your game. You cannot miss the buyback.
You can't look away.
You can't look away. It's gonna be too high if you miss the chance.
Yeah.
So that's why most people say hodl and just hold on.
Yeah, because for all the work you spend and all the effort and time you put in to like sell and buy back, the amount of potential you miss out on if you miss that buyback may not be worth the gain you're going to make by nailing that buyback 30% or whatever it is. Now I'll give you an example. UFT is one of those ones, right? I've got a bag. I was in the pre-sale. We're working with the team. I sold and took my initial back, perhaps too early, like down here. Okay, wow. But I've got a free bag and it's vesting. And like this, look at this resistance, right? 76 cents, 4 taps. I thought, okay, so I actually added here thinking, look, the 4th tap, we're going to break out. It got rejected. This doji came in and then the drop candle. So I sold the bounce. Okay, I'm back out. And I look away for 3 days. And my buddy texts me today. He's like, yo, we broke out. Now it looks like since this morning, because I went, oh man, I didn't get that back. But like, it looks like it's giving us an opportunity to get in. But so like one example, right? But again, I actually like long vesting schedules once I can de-risk initially, because then it's like, well, I guess my hands are tied. I'm not selling that. But I got a little obsessed with securing profits perhaps during the bear market, which ages well in a bear, but may not age well the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have this, like, and Twitter likes to call it bear market PTSD.
Yes.
And I totally have it still, for sure. But I have to say, so far, it did me good. Because, like, yes, altcoins did put in good numbers from time to time. We had periods during the DeFi craze. They were insane. Maybe I should have held more, for sure. But now can be the time where this bear market PTSD has to go away, because now we are very close to all-time high on Bitcoin, like even broke it on some exchanges. And like I said previously, the BTC pair on Ethereum looks pretty damn bullish. Yeah, it just does. It looks good. So I think this might be the start of the big one for crypto.
Yeah, that's my vibe as well. And And it's very important. And I've talked about this before, the idea of like not applying the lessons that you learned the hard way from the last cycle to the next cycle. So let me give you an example of that. So during 2017, it was buy the fucking dip. And I guess we'll pull up a chart. Binance is not even the right one because it wasn't around till September. But let's take a look here, right? So 2017, and I think this is because we are at this pivotal moment, this is probably a good discussion to have. The lesson that was learned in 2017 was if you didn't buy the dip, you're a fucking idiot, right? Right here is when I joined, like May. No, that's January. May. Where's the May one? March, April. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so I joined up here, and there was a big dip, and then the next few days you're underwater if you sold it, and like every dip that you sold, you just spent the next few weeks regretting and eventually buying back higher. And then this happened, right? China banned Bitcoin. Where was that? China. Oh, Jesus. I'm all over the map. China banned Bitcoin here. And so a lot of people, all-time highs were right here. A lot of people said, oh, that was the top. And for like 2 weeks, there was a lot of fear and panic and FUD. And if you sold this, you felt like an idiot. You bought it back more expensive. You had less Bitcoin. And so by the time it got to the top, it was so ingrained in your brain to just, oh, I'm not going to sell this dip. Nope, can't trick me. And then sure enough, just in time for, everyone's buying up this, buying up this, buying up this. And then buy the dip, like totally wrecked, right? Until the depression and gets so strong. And then you bought the dip, and you get just so wrecked during this November sell-off that you're like, next time it bounces, I'm selling. This is bullshit, right? And then the psychology fucks you the other way. And then you start running up. So I guess my point being like, you don't want to apply what you learned in a bear to the bull. You don't want to apply what you learned in this bull to the bear. And so understanding market cycles is going to pay off here.
Like actually, I started around $1,000 per Bitcoin, but I had no idea of trading. Like I'm not an OG to crypto. I'm not an OG to trading. Like I was like 17 years old or 18 years old when I bought in 2017, and holy shit, my God, I was just euphoric the whole time.
Like, yeah, well, no kidding. If you started
at 8K, so yeah, I was just lucky. And then the bear market came. I didn't take much profits, and then I was like, okay, well, this thing still intrigues me. Yeah. I want to stay in this, and I tinkered with TA, a bunch of different stuff. I started my Twitter account writing with people, like trying to learn how they do it. Also, of course, getting trapped from shillers, like just your everyday CT character. Like I was just a normal guy in CT. And suddenly there was 2019, like the dump to 3K. And that's actually where I deployed most of my capital that I ever put into crypto.
Down here in this little gully?
Yeah, right there. That was pure luck, basically. Like I learned some TA and I already applied some ideas, but I was like, okay, this is it. Like this goes to the moon. Or I'm done with crypto, but I have to take this chance. And I bought a bunch of shit. Like I bought Bitcoin, I bought Ethereum, I bought Tezos. I bought, I don't know, I think I bought Tezos at 30 cents or something. And I'm still holding on to parts of those bags because basically they are my retirement fund.
Hell yeah.
And I hope it works out. I think does. I think we still have a big bull run ahead of us. But like I said, I'm not a trading OG or a Twitter OG. I'm in the cycle as much as you guys are, and just fucking.
So you make mistakes? Is that what you're trying to say?
What?
I said, do you make mistakes? Is that you're acknowledging?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, look at if you can look at my screen for a second.
Yeah. You're on.
I posted this chart a couple of days back on Twitter, like when we had this dump, and I thought this was like an interesting spot because We have this demand zone that got filled like basically perfectly, this breakout level that got retested. But I was very hesitant because we were so close to all-time high, and I thought we'd need a deeper correction. And I basically shook myself out due to Ichimoku, but that's my own system. It's designed to like save me when the trend changes, because like we dropped here below the 4 hour, if you can see here.
Yeah, the green cloud, right? I'm not too familiar, but I have some brief understanding of the cloud system.
But like as you can see, here was the start from 11K up to 19,300. There was never a change in Ichimoku structure, except here below 7,300, where it bumped into resistance. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna buy this dip. And then I shook myself out of buying. Yeah, it was truly savage. Like when this dip happened, I actually longed XRP because like it bounced over 10%. I think it was 14% or something in a small trade. I don't know. The charters looked really good to me, and I scalped it, and someone on Twitter told me, "Oh, it's going much higher. You're stupid for selling." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm taking my money and I'm running." And now looking back, I have to say, well, maybe the Twitter retards that are like, sorry for the word, but maybe the people who say you have to buy, never sell, maybe they're right. Maybe their time has come, and I mean,
Moonboy. Well, that goes back to the fear I was saying that I have. I'm super rational analysis now. Like I'm staring at things, I'm thinking, oh, that's overbought. That's bearish market structure. That's that's a shift in structure. I'm gonna wait for a bounce and de-risk or whatever. Like I am looking to take profit, even if it's a big rip face bull. I don't plan to just hold blindly through the whole thing. But that, I guess, is my fear, is that maybe 2017 Moonboy version of me is actually probably going to outperform to some extent. And that's, I'm trying to tap into the bigger picture for a lot of my bags. And I think, like you said, de-risking your positions makes the ability to hold, that much greater, because, sometimes you're like, okay, say you put in $1,000 to something, it goes up to $2,000. You take your money back. Now you have a free $1,000 position. It still doesn't make that easy to hold if, say, it goes to 20K and then drops to 10. And over that 2 weeks where it just dropped to 10, you feel mentally like you've lost 10 grand of value. And so maybe next time it bounces to 15, you get a little profit takey, right? And that's the ride. That's the bumpy ride. And in 2017, I didn't look at charts really. I mean, not that much. And I certainly didn't rush to take profit. I was in the middle of a new paradigm. I was going to hold this shit to the moon, and it worked. I went, how do you catch 100x if you can't hold through a 50, right?
Sure.
It's tricky, right? You cannot capture 100x if you can't hold through a 50 and then it dropped down to 20 and then it punched at 70 and it dropped to 30. So anyways, the less strategy I had during that bull actually served me well. But the problem is, at the end of it all, I was lucky, and I did manage. I had some family members that like slapped me around. They're like, dude, don't be an idiot. Take some profit, pull some money out. Like, you were literally living in a basement apartment, like, why are you sitting on that? So they did shake some sense into me, and I got out with more than I ever imagined I'd make, working my regular job. So it was great, but I watched 3 times that turn to dust over the next 2 years for the most part. So, I think this cycle is going to be one for the ages. I'm feeling like we're positioned really well with what we learned. And, in hindsight, this stuff is so easy. If you want to flip back, John, I'll show you, because I didn't play this dip perfectly either. I think we called it pretty accurately, and weirdly today, my analysis did fairly well, but my actual trading of it did not. I didn't have this chart necessarily during that dip, but as you can see, in retrospect, this reload zone always just looks so sexy. But what Nick and I were looking at last Thursday, and we talked a little bit about, we were live trading this. It was Thanksgiving weekend. We're both Canadians, so the company was kind of quiet. So we were just hanging out in the lab, and this was the trade. Actually, it was that morning, and overnight we had seen like the newer low and then the newer low, and I thought, okay, man, this bounce up. I guess it was on like a 5-minute. We were just like right in the mud there. Where is it? And I'm just going to share this to kind of point out that, like, even though sometimes, like, so it was this dip, and I was like, okay, cool. Bought that. I bought all my spot back here, and this is not a brag because guess what comes next? Well, I was really excited. We had a really nice rally, started to fall off a bit, really nice rally. I got rid of that spot position here because I was like, sweet, just made a few grand, whatever. And this is the mistake that I made, because that kind of chop trading back, forth, long, short should really be done on futures while maintaining a fairly, solid spot base. I think that at least going forward, that's sort of the rule I put into my trade this weekend. And this was my next long that I was waiting and watching for, and I front ran it a bit. And then when this drop happened, I chicken shit, and I didn't get it all back. So then, of course, here, you're like, oh, wait, one more dip, and then it's like, oops. So
it's always like when you have too little of something, it's always please one more dip, and when you have too much, you shit the bed. Like,
yeah. And so that's been my pain point. I made some decent money in the early moves of this, and then ultimately was, not like uber long through it. And so we'll see what this shakes out as. I mean, like I said, I've got many positions, and I expect them all to do well. And cash is fine. I can buy stuff, but yeah, certainly had to kick myself a little bit this weekend because I was maybe over trading this range, and then ultimately, missing the bigger move that. If I can pull up my ETH chart, I mean, we had pretty good eyes on this, but yeah, like I said, it's very hard to trade perfectly, and that's not even really my goal. I think. I don't know about you, but I think consistency is more important than perfection. At least that's what I tell myself to help myself sleep at night.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you've been in the space, you said, since 2017, kind of dabbling. Yes. Consider yourself a fairly average guy, not claiming crypto OG status.
No.
Would you what would you say to like a new trader who's kind of joining in now? Where would you point them in what direction? Maybe what helped you most as an early trader?
What helped me most? I mean, early in 2017, nothing helped. Like, I'm just gonna be honest here, because Twitter wasn't as informative. It was much more fun. Like, for example, I don't know if you know him. He's pretty big on Twitter, but he's not as active lately. Fatih SK, like he has like 100,000 followers, I think.
Okay.
Back in 2017, when he tweeted about an altcoin, like, I just market bought that altcoin. So it was just like, when a big guy tweets something, I'm FOMOing in, and I made some money with it. Sometimes I lost, but overall I was like, yeah, these guys know their shit. Like, so I didn't actually learn anything from crypto Twitter early. The people that really like started opening my eyes towards risk management, towards market structure, price action, and then also, I mean, Ichimoku, of course. Those people came in, or at least came onto my radar in 2018, like when the bear market was raging. And that's really when my trading improved, because you had to improve your trading, because there was no 100x altcoin. Like, you couldn't just buy something, hold it, and come back to it and be a lot richer. Like, that just wasn't the case. So in 2018, I feel like crypto became much more informative, and also you have so many free resources from 2018, like, for example, Cryptocurrencies YouTube channel. You have Carpe Noctem. I don't know if you know him, like Josh. He has
Love his analysis.
Full of informative stuff. So like, I would direct newer traders to like the people who've been here for a while and who offer free content. And like, even if you want to pay for content, like, start off with the free content, get the feeling for trading. If you like it, you can dig deeper. I would not start with paid groups or with paid articles, because even if the paid article is very good, or like the group is very good, if you don't have a basic understanding of what's happening, you won't come to any conclusions yourself, and it won't help you in the long run. So I would say go to Cryptocurrencies YouTube channel, go to Carpe Noctem's YouTube channel and Medium and check out the free resources, and then just learn, dabble a bit. If you're interested in crypto in the long run, hold spot positions, and then see where it takes you. Don't go too heavy. That's it.
Yeah, no, I like that advice.
Don't quit your job. Not yet.
What's that?
Don't quit your job. Like, we've seen people who said, I'm quit my job, sell everything. Just don't, okay?
This is quit your job season, isn't it? Right? Everything makes new all-time highs. Bags are hitting all-time highs.
Yeah, and then there's the bull trap and the bear, and so, like, even as bullish as we are right now, we cannot for sure predict what the market does. We cannot, because it's in the future. The future is random. There's an estimate, but it's not a certainty. We can still drop massively. Who knows what could happen? Yeah. And then you're stuck in the shit. So
yeah, no, I think the number one advice is always manage risk, and I think that starts with covering your bottom line. And in this case, not quitting your day job. It actually took me 2 years. And I was very fortunate because I was a teacher and I didn't have to quit my job. And this year is actually the first year and I just took an unpaid leave. So I'm still technically employed, and I can go back if there's ever just an FU moment where I need to. That was very fortunate. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, my first year I was into it, I worked full time. Second year I went half-time leave. Third year half-time leave. And then I was like, screw it, it's time. But having my bases covered so that you have some kind of income before you do that, because it's also harder to trade if you're depending on it. Exactly. you go on a 10-day losing streak, which will happen. Maybe just a rut in general through an entire month. Suddenly you're getting emotional because you don't know where your next meal's coming from or whatever, for an extreme example. But yeah, so I mean, let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart at the highs here today. I think a lot of people are anxious to see. We got Amused Beer sitting on TradingView, and he asked, "Is the time to buy the BTC now?" ? And that's a good question. I mean, is this the time to buy? And my answer just now, I said, can't give financial advice, but generally speaking, no. And this is the trickiest part about trading. I mean, this is the Ethereum chart, but it's basically mirroring Bitcoin right now, other than the fact they didn't make highs, which is interesting. But like, when you're supposed to buy these things, you generally don't want to. Like, supposed to, quote unquote, like at the best opportunities to buy, you often are not there to be buying. And then it's often at the worst possible times that you're compelled to go and make big financial decisions. That's how markets get you. So what would you say to somebody maybe now who's looking at these highs? And I could think of what I would say to them as well, but like, how do you manage emotions? Dollar cost averaging is the first thing that comes to my mind. Buy a little bit. If you have $100, spend 10. Say, okay, well, I'm in the door. Maybe your 10 turns to 5, whatever. Like, you can average down, you can average up, but what do you say to that if someone asks you at the highs? Because that's what everyone wants to know today is holy shit, is this thing going to go to 40K next week? Like, what do I do?
I mean, like, let's just say this person still has their job and has no foot in crypto yet. I would say buy a little bit of your disposable income every week, put it into crypto. Like, if you believe in the long run, sure, but go slow, because like, you have no experience in markets, none whatsoever. Like, if you ask this question, you probably don't have any experience in markets, and you also are probably driven into crypto right now due to headlines. So you think this thing is going to make you rich, you're going to put all your life savings in, and then crypto can be very volatile. I don't know if you see my chart right now.
Let's flip over that. Yeah, you're up.
Okay, sorry. Well, let's see. We're here at 19,265. You put all your life savings in because you saw it on CNBC or whatever. And then let's say it drops to this next demand zone here. That's a 7% drop. That's right now, that's over $1K. If you put all your savings in it, can you even stomach a 7% drop, like a 7% drop? And that's not much for crypto. We just saw let's see.
I think it was about 16.
This drop was 16%. Can you really stomach a drop like that? Probably not. You're going to get emotional. You're going to sell part or all of your position at a 15% loss, and you made that loss in a day, in a single day. Yeah. That's not what I would advise to new people, especially like, I mean, I might be stupid right here, but I think that Bitcoin, if it closes this daily around these levels, could be making a top again and then drop like a couple of $1,000 to 2,800, because we see right now we have an impulsive lag up completely. We broke the uptrend, and now we retested this trend line in an S curve fashion, and we put in an SFP at the highs. So I would say, like, even if it wants to go higher, it's probably not going to do it from here.
Yeah,
it probably will put in a higher low again and then break the high.
at the least, you'd have to think.
Yeah, it's going to respect market structure likely. Like if we're bullish, I mean, yeah, bullish, like not hyper bullish. If we were hyper bullish, we would have broken all-time high probably by now, like on Bitfinex and Coinbase, the two biggest spot exchanges there are, and they have been massive chads on this whole run-up because like they bought massive amounts. So I would say no, don't go all in Bitcoin right now.
Yeah.
And
no, if you're driving yourself insane, and this is thoughts that I've had, like, this is the savageness of crypto. I mean, we had the massive dump right into the long weekend, and then basically by the time that the markets opened on Monday, we were right back where they closed. And so that whole Thanksgiving weekend shakeout, we'll call it. And I know, and the reason I'm talking about this is because I know there's a lot of people either watching or just in the market that are out of position. That kind of move puts the majority of traders out of position because it makes them want to protect capital. And then they just run right back up and they squeeze everyone who was trying to short until they're all liquidated. And then we see what's really going to happen. And that's why I use the concept of short reload zones, where it's like, even if I want to short, I'm going to wait for a bounce up into that. And we've actually exceeded it. I mean, we went to the highs. So, I'm in a bit of a moment where I'm just going to watch. I'm going to watch the 4 hour. I'm going to watch the 1 hour. I'm going to wait for some failure if there's going to be some. And if I'm going to buy 20K, it's going to be on a bullish retest, not on a breakup. And I think your point about joining crypto, maybe starting small, the upside potential is very high. So you don't actually have to risk a lot to have a large potential return. And that's something you need to consider as an asymmetric investment. Something that is high risk, high reward is typically what it's thought of. Although, I don't know, I think the risk of it is going down on the whole. Like, I think it's here to stay. That's pretty clear. No, Dave Millett says crypto is always entertaining. It never disappoints. And you're absolutely right. And wait, Nathan, hopefully that helps with your question. And Resolve Photo says, we also have to consider the strength of the dollar to get a good understanding of crypto prices. Yeah, let's take a look at the Dixie. I haven't been charting that too lately.
I don't watch the Dixie much.
Okay,
DXY. I mean, it makes sense, like dollar strength, because we price Bitcoin in dollar, but like Bitcoin is priced in dollar. Like, why would you watch the dollar chart when you're already watching an asset compared to this? Like,
it's true. I just think that typically, I think a lot of people watch this because if it makes strong moves, it's sort of leads in a sense. It's almost like Bitcoin does for altcoins.
If there's a delay, sure. Like if you find alpha in playing, like when you see XY pumping and Bitcoin not reacting, and you want to take the risk and bet on Bitcoin lagging, sure. But there's also the possibility that Bitcoin just doesn't react at all and just goes with the move. Because dollar weakness doesn't have to mean Bitcoin strength, and vice versa. Bitcoin can pump together with the dollar.
Yep. No, that's absolutely right. And I've heard that it's really like, at this point, because we're seeing the Dixies just kind of like meandering down this trend channel, it's not really doing anything violent. So it probably won't have much effect. But if it falls off really hard and the US dollar, shits the bed, then you would expect people with US dollars to want to get them into something else. And that's where you get the buying pressure on things like gold or Bitcoin or bonds, stocks, whatever. And then, if it breaks up to be really high and there's a flight to dollars, and I don't know if I see that scenario, but that's more of a Nick question. My other co-host, he's on Wednesdays and Fridays with me, and like he reads the stuff. He understands the more ebb and flow of the entire world economy. I'm more of a crypto Chad. So
I mean, I think that's what we saw in March. Like there was dollar liquidity crisis and the DXY was really strong. So like all risk on assets, like generally high risk assets, got dumped to shit.
yeah, right here.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, it doesn't matter what you think of COVID, but I think we saw like the highest impact that COVID could have on the market, I think played out already in March.
Yeah.
So I don't know what event could come that would bring such a violent move again. Maybe a major war, but I don't know. Like the elections weren't that volatile either.
Yeah, that was weird. I think a lot of people expected more, and it's been a bit
Yeah,
of a
I
non-event.
expected more, but just nothing happened. It just kept moving up.
Yeah, Bitcoin seems to have a mind of its own, and as it touches this all-time high, I can't help but want to draw targets to the upside because, it's going to be a totally new vibe, right? Because for the last 2-3 years, we've been able to look left and pick levels, right? We've had all these different levels to interact with, and it's very exciting to consider maybe headed into a territory where it's just price discovery, which for those who have
holy shit.
yeah, like for those who never traded it, I mean, we'll have to go to a log maybe here. But that's what this looks like. I mean, where do you look left? And so like there's not a whole lot. It's really exciting to think about. And it's like I said, every time it makes a new all-time high and dumps, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, that was it. Now it's time to get out. But you can see here, for example, if it was January 2016, you get this big push dump. So as it goes up, you can think, oh, I'm going to go to a fib extension. And a lot of traders, as you can see, were trading that level. And as soon as it tagged it, it dumped again. And you can try to work your way up that way. It's like the reload zone comes down. I mean, that's the big one I can think of. But it doesn't work perfectly. But what kind of things are you going to be doing to maybe trade to the upside if you're ever, or is it just going to be kind of like a hold and buy dips and hold and buy dips? Or
I'm gonna probably use fib extensions and also like levels that I think could be psychologically valuable. Like for example, 100K per Bitcoin. If it happens, I will sell some of my spot holdings for sure. Yeah. If I even have anything left at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be a monster front run on that. You'd think like 96, 97, people will be getting really eager. And I remember that with the 10K. And so that's a good point. Big friendly round numbers.
Fib extensions are always pretty good too. Like the 1.618 is pretty decent level. Like even if you use the 1.78 fib extension right now during pumps, even if you have like price history to the left, there are still oftentimes reactions to that level. So I think fib extensions and like fib retracements, or in my case, like the Kijin and Ichimoku levels, because they're basically the 50% fib retrace, can bring like nice dip buying opportunities like we saw in 2017.
Do you use GAN at all?
Pull up the no, I like isn't 50% a GAN level too?
Yeah, 50%.
Yeah, so I use GAN because Ichimoku is 50%. Like everything is about equilibrium.
Oh, okay.
50% level.
You just reminded me. We are getting closer to the top of the hour, so if we got some requests in here, we might take a few. But I just want to show you because you just mentioned something. One of my favorite studies, and I did this retroactively, so just in case anyone's thinking. But like if you think of the Bitcoin top, pull down, and then GAN's idea is like 50% of the time, 50% of the distance, and so you could have drawn this circle technically right here, and then expected price to hit it, and it did. So I thought that was pretty fantastic. I learned about this like here, so I started doing it retroactive, and then I forward drew this line. So half of this move up would be here, and half of that time, 192 bars right here. And sure enough, smack the circle again. And then if you measure here to here and take half of that back, it would have been here, but actually the China pump ran that. So that's the Gann 50/50. Like that shit's crazy. So ever since I did this study, I was like, okay, I'm paying attention now, Gann. You got me.
I mean, it makes absolutely zero sense to me, but
yeah, it's weird, man. He's kind of witchcraft.
A lot of things don't make sense to me, but they can work if you like. I'm a strong believer that any any style of trading can work. Like I'm a big believer in that. I don't shit on Elliott wave traders. I don't shit on Gann traders. I don't shit on people who use moon phases. I could care less. Like if you make money, good. Keep on doing what you do. Like I could care less. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. That's my point. Like I think it's interesting that there are so many ways to make money. Like oftentimes it's also like it's connected to a good sense of risk management and risk assessment. So when to go hard, when to not go hard, when to cut a trade, when to keep a winner running. And that's also like combined with a gut feeling that you're building when you're in the market for a while. So I think experience plays into it a lot. And if you don't have the experience with a system, there's no way you can replicate someone else's results just by copying what they do, because you can't. You don't have the experience.
Yeah, and that's why copy trading doesn't work really, right?
Yeah, like I see what some people are doing with Gann. Like for example, I think it's Messi who is using gun fans on Twitter quite often too. Like he shares his gun charts.
Yep.
Gun fan charts, and like they look absolutely horrendous to me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then a week later he says, okay, so first target hit, next target's here, and I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah, I mean that would put us up here probably.
Yeah. So,
so it does tend to work. I mean, and then look, like these Gann angles are sick. I mean, that
retest is fucking insane.
Yeah, so there it is, right on the spot. It's kind of sick.
So
no, I find it hard. I find it hard to trade with Gann as far as like, which one of these is going to hold up when. Like here it just got blown through, but then it came back down, and then this one got regained, and then it took off. Like in retrospect, it looks so beautiful. But I do find it hard to like actively look at it and trade it. And I'll give you an example of this one. I mean, this is probably my favorite Gann study after that 50%er. And, you draw from here to here, and that just this pivot to this pivot, and that kicks out this big extrapolation, this big Gann square.
Holy shit.
You're right. And then like, so that was just from this, 2 weeks. And then for a year, this thing, and you can see like following each arc, and then it just blew off the top at the next arc. And so like, but how do you know if it's going to catch each arc? It's so hard to do in live action, but it's a really cool analysis tool. But I don't know how much practicality.
Stay on that chart for a second, okay? Stay on that chart for a second. Yep. Now comes the hard part. Like for example, look at the fifth arrow that you drew.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like here.
And then look at the bottom. Like it broke the arc.
Exactly.
And then it retested the arc. Like look at the retest on the next one. A little below. I don't know if you can find it, but like you have a retest that just goes up into the arc, but it doesn't actually close within, and the next one breaks through and closes within. You would have shorted that level if you were trading Gann. Like you're looking at it.
Yeah. Like, so I mean, I'd like to meet.
But like when you go down into the nitty gritty, I think it becomes real hard to like incorporate it well with defining risk. And
exactly, because and that's sort of with trend lines too, right? Because how many times do you just, sometimes they get a nice clean tap, but sometimes they just break through and then they come back. So where was your stop loss? How do you measure that risk? I find it tricky. Maybe like seasonally you could look at this and just say like, ooh, like we hit an arc here. That's interesting confluence. I wonder if, we're going to ride this arc up. And so that's one I actually traded, but not just because of this chart, but it just kind of gave me some confidence. But then, you get up to this angle, which can act as resistance, and we were riding it down, and I just thought, man, like, are we going to just, we're going to crap out, come test this level? And so I was actually a little bearish here. It's a 50-50. I was giving it like a 60-40 to the downside. And, I was wrong. Okay.
Bearish there. I think a lot of people were. I mean,
yeah, if nothing else, just because there was like the wait and see, it drives you crazy, right? But then you get up to this 8-1, the purple line here, which is a fairly strong trader level as far as like a thing. And then we got rejected. It was like, oh no, the 8-1 held up. And then, a month later, it's like, fuck you, 8-1. So yeah, I do find it hard to use this directly for trading, but endlessly fascinating. So I will continue to draw these studies. And I guess that's sort of what I'm looking at. If I can go back and find it, I think
it looks beautiful and interesting for sure.
It's cool. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I think going forward, we're going to have to get real creative with how we find levels. And I think your trend lines and your Ichimoku and the Kaijun and all that stuff, I haven't been sort of taught all that stuff, but I find it fascinating. As you enter the cloud and then you're just expected to exit above. Do you have any high time frame charts maybe you'd like to share with us as we are kind of coming towards the top of the hour? I don't know what your timeline's like, but I'm going to...
I have my meme chart.
Yeah, let's take a look at the meme charts.
It's my BLX meme chart. Like, I drew this here, and it's just insane how well it follows. Like, it breaks the trend line, retests the trend line, goes to all-time high. I don't know how long I have this chart. Like, it's been a while, and it's just insane. And the next move would be a 30% drop. But the problem is the sample size is 1. There's one time this happened, like the fractal.
Okay, so walk me through this 30% drop, because that's spooky, because that's actually what I'm looking at. And it's not because I want it to happen. It's not because, this is what I hope. But at the level we're at, I just don't have a long setup, like especially like with leverage. I can't do much. So I'm forced to either watch or to hunt for a short. And I'm not going to rush into overtrade that, but I think a lot of people are in that position right now where they're just wanting to trade this. Finding the RR.
I mean, it comes from here.
So what do you see?
Yeah, if you're like, I'm not saying it's a 37%. It will be a 37% drop. That's just what it's been this time. But here was the all-time high retest in 2017, like when it came to 1,200 basically, yep. And then it retested the weekly Kijun. Like, let me show you a little bit of magic. This is the weekly Kijun. I'm taking everything else off the chart. Look at this. Retest, 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 retest.
They're just riding that thing up. Jesus.
Breaks below. Retest. Yeah, it breaks back above. Like, you would have sold here at 12K. You would have bought here at 5K. You would have sold at 8.8K. Like, it's not perfect, but like for dip buying, it's insane. And if you have a high time frame view, I think it's really interesting to keep an eye on this. And right now it's around 14K. And
I think that's a really good reminder.
I'm gonna go back.
Yeah, maybe going back to the question where somebody says, "Is this the time to buy?" I mean, look back at the last time Bitcoin ripped the bull market, even through what is historically its strongest move ever, up to 20K originally in 2017. It still visited this Kijun, you call it, like seven times.
Yeah,
so is it fair to say that on average, or probability wise, you're probably best served to wait for a test of something like that, because it almost certainly will come?
The problem is it worked insanely well in 2017, and it was something I kept my eye on also during this whole uptrend, but it never came. It came close, but it never actually came down to it. So what I'm thinking is that you have to change the settings. Like, you have to adapt the settings to something customized, and you have to do research in terms of speed of the market, because these settings here and here are the same, but the market seems to have become much quicker.
You almost have to like download a patch for institutional and arrival.
Yeah, basically, like, look, from the 4K dump in March to now 20K, like, it took what, it's like 7 months right now. and that's insanely fast for a pre all-time high rally. Like this took longer, if I remember correctly. Where was it? Here. Okay, so I think this dump. Yeah, here is the all-time high test. So this took over a year and a half from the big dump to the all-time high test. And right now, half of that. So the market has become quicker, in my opinion. And the possibility that the next bull run plays out quicker is there too. So you either have to come down on the time frames, here on the daily, for example, when it comes close.
There it was. Good old hindsight, eh?
Yeah, I mean, the daily level, not the daily level, this was a 4-hour demand zone. I had it marked. I posted on Twitter, like, this is it's gonna chat back up to 19K, but I'm not gonna bet on it. And yeah, in hindsight, I should have fucking bet on it. But what am I gonna do? I can't turn back time. So,
yeah, no, there's a lot of that going around, and if anything, it's a good learning moment for a lot of people as we re-enter into a bullish phase. Whether or not that takes off today, this week, from this level, whether or not we do get the big wash that a lot of people are waiting for through the end of the year, perhaps down to 14s, 15, 16, 13, whatever. Bottom line is we are in and heading into what looks like a new cycle, and we need to be thinking a little differently, perhaps. If we get another chance, if there is some sort of sell-off over the next few weeks into the end of the year, and I'm not going to put, I tried to put probabilities on that. I'm not about to change my mind just because we came up to these highs, but I do have to be aware that I could be wrong. Like you said, it's all probabilities, but perhaps a really good learning lesson in how to maybe adapt to just doing a little more dip buying instead of, changing maybe thesis every time there's a big dip. Because they are violent and they are aggressive, and they often will, if you're not pre-planned, they will help you, cause you to change your mind at the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, the big issue is, like, most people don't zoom out. A lot of people on Twitter, for example, are, like, especially from the price action traders, they are really good at trading chop. But trend following is really hard for them sometimes because, like, market structure gets broken on 35% dips, like on the daily and on the 4-hour. Like, so their system basically tells them to not buy the dip, but to short the retest. But when you zoom out to the weekly, monthly, those dips are golden buying opportunities. So, like, you always have
nailed me. You put me in a nutshell there, dude. Like, I saw that dip and I was thinking, like, yeah, we're gonna have to squeeze up. And sorry, continue your point. I want to point out that I think you just.
No, I mean, that was my point. Like, zoom out. Like, if I even have to remind myself about this quite often, even though I've been, like, in crypto, like, what, basically 4 years now, or over 4 years. Oh, 4 years. And yeah, just I believed in this shit for so long that it will be bigger than it has been in the past. Why would I not want to buy a 40% dip? Especially with institutions showing interest, like really showing interest in Bitcoin, not just like some fake news from China or whatever. Yeah, I think 30% dips are for buying. And
I mean,
so yet scale in slowly. You can, like, I think it was Matt Odell or something who has a DCA calculator. Like, even if you just bought from 2018 onwards to now, you'd be in decent profit if you just put in a little bit of money every week.
Yeah, that seems to be the way. That's why we're all here. I think we understand there's upside. There's a use case looking forward, especially with the dilution of fiat currencies. And so you got to ask yourself, you look back, you say, well, why didn't I buy this? And at the time, it's because, and this is what we do, right? As soon as you see a big dump, people start looking for the big target. Just like when you see the big pumps, you start looking up to the big target. And as markets often do, they will drive you crazy if you don't have a plan. So I did, I bought some spot back here that I got stopped out on up here, and I actually sold it during the week. Again, looking, I'm like, why did I do that? Because my targets were up into this short reload zone, which we've just blasted through. So, but like I said, at this point, my trading plan really is around accumulating fiat. As annoying as that sounds to some people, they say, why not accumulate Bitcoin? I mean, it's all the same to me. I just, I'm sitting in, I have some cash, like I can spend that. And if we, if we break out of here, like I'd rather buy 20K on the upside. At this point, I I have no choice. I'm certainly, I'm not going to rush to buy this, as exciting and euphoric as I feel right now. I think I'm not afraid to admit that. Like I traded this, and I'm not Omega long right now, which is what it is. It's all good. But like I think you pointed out, we've had a good year.
For sure.
Portfolios, something like, I don't know, 16x my January balance. Like I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'm not going to beat myself up over this one move, but it's interesting because nobody gives a fuck about this reload zone. I don't know what this was. Was this breakout buy volume, or was this, shorts covering, getting squeezed, and that created a lot of buying to close, and we're going to settle here and then roll over? I don't know. What I do know is what I'm looking for. So maybe before we wrap today, and I want to get your take on this, because really that's what we're here for today, is to hear what you have to say. But I need to see a fail here if I'm going to be thinking downside, and I need to see a break of these highs if I'm going to be thinking upside. And I'm not a breakout trader, so I can't buy that. But I know
you want to retest. You want to break.
Yeah, I want the retest, and that's like that famous last words, right? It's like, oh, I'll buy the retest, and then like 3 years later, you're still waiting.
Okay, but now I have a question.
Yeah.
You want a perfect retest, or you want a close retest? Because when Bitcoin breaks all-time high, and it really does, like with volume, I don't think we'll see a perfect retest. It can, but like you work a lot with Fibonacci retracements, so
yeah,
I would maybe look at like maybe buying a little bit at the 0.618 or in the golden pocket, like 0.618, 0.65.
Yeah,
and to not get left on the sidelines.
No, yeah, and I'm actually at a point. Obviously, it's easier to say today because things are going so crazy. Like I'm not even that uncomfortable buying back at a higher level. Like it sucks. That's part of the thing you get when you trade, is that you have to be willing to eat shit going the other way if you're on the wrong side of it. I've made peace with that. I've done it a few times. It won't be the last time. But what I did do is follow my plan and kind of protect what I had accumulated this summer. So I'm okay with that. But looking back, we had this, right? This is the last all-time high. We navigated that similarly, and it got front run, but we dipped 30% last time, only 16 this time. Like you said, it kind of seems like it's accelerated, if that was the dip. And then as it moved up into all-time highs, you can imagine there was some euphoria here. Super friggin' Darth Maul.
Disgusting.
And then another 30% dip. Then we reclaimed the highs, tested them, and took off. Who knows?
I think that was the asterisk period back then. Like,
yeah,
wait for the bounce, then short the corn, and corn just said, "See you later."
Yeah. So I mean that this took 4.5 months to navigate last time. So I'm, what is this from the top? From the top, we just made.
By the way, quickly.
Yeah.
This is not a dig at Ashdrake. I think he's a pretty cool guy. I just think the tweet is legendary. Okay, so don't think I hate the guy. No, he's cool.
No, and he's I'm pretty sure he's a big fan of Hxro too. I've been seeing him tweet out some Hxro stuff, and we may even have him on the show sometime soon if he's interested. So from when we approached the highs, November 24th, and again, this may not happen the same way as last time. In fact, certainly won't be the exact same. But let's look at the date range, and we'll have to go to a daily. So what does 4.5 months look like if we were to look last time? 132 bars from approach, let's say 132 bars. Like, wow, right? That's some perspective for anyone who's like in a race today feeling like they're going to get left behind. I would just remind you that this is the stretch that it took Bitcoin to navigate its all-time highs last time. That's actually April. And it may happen that way. Similarly, it may not. But I just...
Wasn't it April also when we started pumping from the 4K, 3K accumulation region? I think that was also around that time in 2018.
Oh yeah, down. We don't have it here. To go back to a different chart. I'm all over the place. My charts. I got so flustered with. Yeah. Oh yeah, stamp. Let's check it out. I think it was because I remember it was April when the tether FUD hit, and it barely made
it. I remember the day perfectly. I can still. I know. Yeah, it was April. I know the day. I still know the sun was shining. I was drinking my coffee on the balcony. I was playing a game with a friend of mine. I came back with my coffee from the balcony. I looked at Bitcoin and I told him, today is going to be a good day. Like I remember the day perfectly. It's so engraved in my memory. It was beautiful. Something like that in April when like it's less dark outside, more sunny, maybe COVID is a little less of a threat. Maybe we can go outside and meet friends. That would be perfect because right now in the winter, like where are you going to go to celebrate?
Yeah, no kidding. And oh, look at this. I thought I lost these. Man, I've been so all over the map with my Bitcoin charts. We got a question in the audience for you. So I hope you have a few minutes. If we're running you late, we are a little past the hour. Let me know. And I could talk all day. So you just have to let me know when you got something to do. But
a friend of mine is writing me for half an hour, like, come, you have to talk. But I'm like, wait a minute.
Okay, cool. Well,
it's fine. I have a couple more minutes.
Okay, sweet. So we'll try to wrap that. I mean, yeah, if you're playing the parabolic breakdown, this is a very interesting level. You've shown us a trend line. This is basically that same spot. I would warrant a whole bag of caution for anyone who's feeling like making an emotional decision today. There's going to be a ton of euphoria on social media, and rightfully so. We just broke all-time highs. I think we should celebrate. But if you're, I mean, TLDR, just don't necessarily rush in to say that this has to moon from here. I think the cat's out of the bag, and we will be on quite a rampage this year. But that's just an interesting level, and I'm going to be keeping a close eye on it. That's a doji close on the 4 hour. That's indecision, continuation, rejection. We'll find out soon. DJ 2000 would like to know how you use your fib extensions for this run. Do you want to maybe we'll end with like a quick rundown on the fib extensions?
Sure. Are they asking you or are they asking?
No, they asked me. They said, "Hey, TraderSmokey." So, and then he asked me to. So double ask.
I mean, it's
a good question.
Do you see my chart?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty simple. I don't know if you have ever used the fib extensions, like the viewer who asked, but like you take a low, take a high, take the next low, and then you get your extension. So, like for example, if I was making a macro trade, and I thought it would go past all-time high. Like for example, the 1.618, which is pretty popular fib extension right here. So I actually posted this on Twitter a while ago because I think it's an interesting target. Wait, let me see. Let me draw that out like this. Like you can combine fib extensions with price action. Like for example, like I'm not gonna do it perfectly now because I don't have time to clean up my charts on stream. For example, if you were looking at this SR flip, right? And you were looking to buy the dip here, like you can put you can start your fib extension off at the low that went into the resistance. You take the high, and this is where you buy, right? So it's a trend following extension. It's not a retracement. It shows you potential continuation. So this move here, which is the low, and this high, you have a 1-to-1 extension.
To copy that,
this is
like
the one right here that we like. It actually, it's a 100% exact copy, like not in percentage value, but in dollar value. That you have to remember that. Then here's the 1.618, which is, in my opinion, one of the most used fib extensions and also retracements, like the 0.618 and the 1.618, which is very interesting. I think I did a study once in 2017, because when I was looking into Elliott waves, every time I was looking at fib extensions, I think they lined up pretty nicely. Like, let's see here, I connect this. Yeah, right there you see like perfectly in the pocket. Then where's the next step? Let's see. From here to here, that overshot a little bit. Like you just, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna extend the lines so you can.
And it's funny, like I actually use the
trend
same.
lines.
I use the same one. So the 1618 is often where I'll take my first profit on any longs, and secure that. And so anyone watching, if you want to learn more about this, I can happily go over my use of the 618s, and I've posted my settings as well. But I love, you're looking at it. You actually have 3 points when you do a fib extension. One, mark the high, or mark the low, mark the high, and then you actually have a pullback point as well.
Yeah, I mean that's how the fib extensions work.
Okay, because I only have 2 points.
You are. Well, are you using extensions or are you just using the fib retracements? Like I can use a fib retracement here.
Oh, so you're using the trend-based
then
fib
I can
extension tool. Okay, yeah, I use a retracement tool, but I have it set with the extensions on it, so it's slightly different, I guess. Interesting. I gotta look at that. Yeah.
It's slightly different. Like here it just puts in the, like you connect the low to the high, and then the dip you want to buy. And yeah.
Interesting.
You get the extension. Like it shows you this leg. Okay. It shows you the extension of this first leg based on the point where you put the retracement on. So that's the idea behind it. Like for example, here the 1.618. If we take this move here, you were looking at this move here from this low to this high, and you wanted to enter around this low here around 345. Well, a 1.618 extension in terms of dollars of $308 is $502. So it shows you if this trend, like if this trend overextends, like it doesn't extend to the 1-to-1, but it overextends, it goes higher, it makes a higher return, you can put up the fib extensions and see roughly where the trend could be if it accelerates. Like usually people are aiming for a 1-to-1 extension as a first target. Yeah, I mean that's what we saw here too.
That's basically like what I call ABCD harmonic, sort of a copy extension of.
Yeah, I mean that's also what Elliott wave traders use to some degree. And as you can see, it worked out pretty nicely here. Like I marked this low with the high here and this low, and you can see the 1-to-1 extension is at 18,257. Yeah, which is for a swing trade. If you enter this swing trade, that's pretty accurate. It's not perfect, but you captured the meat of the move. And now,
and then you can kind of cool your jets, and you often do see pauses in the market at those levels, because I just guess there's so many traders watching for it and taking profit there, waiting for that next dip and then repeating. So I'll be using a lot of
but also because it just makes sense oftentimes. Yeah, because like it's not even like people don't even have to use this to see, like when you look at this chart, just look at this move. You say, oh wow, this looks pretty similar, these two up moves. Like not in log, but like in here, like the height of these two moves is basically identical. And that's where some people just think, okay, I'm going to take profit. The market also has a lot of psychology behind it. And I think that's where fib extensions can like be really interesting, because they basically play into this. Like if you believe that that like fib numbers are important in our universe, like they certainly are in math. Yeah. Like if you believe in fib numbers, this should make a lot of sense to you. And I know people that trade solely based off fib numbers, fib retracements, and fib extensions. And
I'm pretty close to
really
that.
well.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that. I think for analysis, I use all kinds of tools just to show the power of TA and the variety. But myself as a trader, it's really like buy the reload zone and sell the fib extension. And that pocket has been very good to me over the last year, I guess, since I really started that. I think the last, we better wrap there, guys. We are getting well past the hour on this all-time high day. We didn't really dive into some of the altcoins that I was looking at. So real quick, a few of the names I'm chewing on, I just want to leave you guys with something to think about. I think there's a lot of altcoins versus USD that are yet to break out that are looking pretty good. I can give you an example of one here, Algo, that I've been watching. You know, we've got that higher low, the breakout. We've just retested it. So if there is going to be an extension of this kind of rally, what I'm looking for is the altcoins that have yet to break out big time, but are sort of cooking up that bullish market structure. And, you know, I found a few of them. You know, we got Bell. Look at this huge influx of volume on Bell, again, versus BTC. And is just parked, right? I mean, it's not quite at the reload zone anymore. Just kind of bounced out of it. But like, these are the coins that I'm locking. So I think Bell, Algo, let's see down here. Seller actually on Bitcoin pair is also looking good, although it's sort of starting to move away a little bit. But I don't think it's, you know, unless Bitcoin really ramps up insanely high or low, if it does anything but blast in like a 1K candle in any direction, and if it's up, actually, these things could run with it. But if it's down, you know, watch out below for a little bit. But look, CRV, crazy volume. You want to find, I guess, as a takeaway, guys, you want to look for coins that have tons of volume coming in and they're at their lows, because that's, you can't hide, you know, unless you're OTC markets, it's really hard to hide your buying. And what we're seeing here on Curve, for example, despite its huge inflation rate, is this gigantic buyer stepping in. And I guess the other one I'm looking at is DOT, always DOT. I think DOT's going to have a very good year next year. And as you guys can see, really nice consolidation here. And it just broke out, retested. So this is the kind of stuff where if we do get an alt rally through the end of the year, we may see, you know, whatever we're going to see with this. And then you'll look back and you'll be like, oh my God, that entry. So keep an eye on some of these.
Beautiful.
Right? I mean, it's just, and I have a hard time as a fib trader. Now, if I'm not in this position, I have a hard time buying that because I'm like, oh, well, I missed my entry. But I have to think bigger picture. I think, you know, I have a spot position in a few of these coins, and I may be looking to, you know, zoom in a little bit, buy some little retests and get long on these, because as Bitcoin just broke its all-time high, I think it's going to attract a lot of attention. And so I do expect a lot of these USD pairs to run. So I did a quick scan and I just grabbed the ones that are sort of still low in their pattern. E-Gold, another one. I mean, these things, you know, everyone's watching Bitcoin, but where's the value? Do you want to buy the all-time highs on Bitcoin, or do you want to try to snipe some of these lower cap coins that are no doubt going to have a fun time in the near future? So I think we'll leave it with that, guys. And we're going to dive in a lot more. HBAR. Okay, last one, HBAR. I really like HBAR. I have a hard time saying goodbye if you can't tell, but yeah, HBAR looks like it's cooking up.
You're too excited.
Too excited, man. I mean, this is what I wait for. And people are like, well, you're in cash. You don't have any Bitcoin. I'm like, well, I'm going to deploy this cash into some of these USD pairs that I think are just going to go absolute bananas in the next few months. So with that, guys, we're going to wrap here. Nick and I will be back on Wednesday. I've got a special guest, BTC Jack Sparrow, coming on the show next Monday, December 7th.
Oh,
really
sick.
Yeah, really excited to chill with him, see what he's up to. We've streamed before. We actually used to stream together, and I haven't talked to him on stream for quite a while, so excited for that. Thank you so much, Smokey Trader. Let's get back to the studio real quick as we wrap up here. Yes. Okay. So we'll get back into the studio, and thank you so much for coming on today and even running past the hour with me. It was really nice to learn with you and see some of that higher time frame. June. So I may have to ping you and find out some of those levels, because I want to buy. If we do end up going down and we touch that daily or weekly Kijun, I'm going to have to take some longs out. So.
For sure. Just drop into those DMs.
Absolutely.
And thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah. No, it's been really good. And what a day, man. I mean, it doesn't matter what position you're in right now. We broke all-time highs on some exchanges.
Unless you were short from 16K or something, then maybe.
Yeah. No, I definitely had 2 busted shorts over the weekend, but, you know, 0.25%, 0.5% risk on each, not too bad. And that's, it's the life of a trader. You get stuck on the wrong side of something once in a while. So, all right, all-time highs for Bitcoin today. Altcoins to echo through December, possibly. We shared a couple names here just at the end. Hopefully you guys can find some yourself. And whatever you do between now and next time we see you, always play from a position of strength. Take care, everybody.
Bye.